on this computer. Hello, hello. Hi, Karina from Texas. Mia from Oklahoma. Darling, Toronto.
Wow, a lot of folks.
Yeah. Puerto Rico. I'll try to. Kenya. Benson's in the building. Rachel, Bay Area. Julia from the Bay Area. Hello, everybody. What's going on? Thank you for joining us. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is our first. Me and John were just talking casually. Like, this is our first Rise Up demo. So I asked a few friends, mentees, and what would you guys want to see more in these panels? And I had a lot of feedback from close friends of just kind of what if we sort of do a demo? A lot of the Rise Up panels have been really just informative talks, which is great. People sharing their stories, people sharing their journeys and everything like that. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of those, John, but they're awesome. I mean, just kind of people sharing their stories and their careers and where they came from and kind of opening up a little bit and how they kind of came into this crazy industry of ours. So, but today we have John and Taiwan. Man, thank you everybody for
Wow, Taiwan, Poland.
I don't know where Poland. But yeah, today is going to be experimental for us. We're going to do a demo, and it's going to be the John Nevarez show, which I'm super stoked about. Going to learn a ton as well. So John, man, thank you again for doing this, man, and this is really exciting. So.
No, thanks, Bobby, for the opportunity. This is awesome. I'm just excited and honored and scared at the same time. This is awesome.
No, man, no reason to be scared. This community is super supportive, and we're all just kind of here to learn from your experiences and your know-how. So, this should be exciting. Let's see, what time is it right now? 11:04. Taiwan, yo, what's up, everybody? Good to see you guys again. It's been a while, actually. I think since we had a panel, but I think this is going to be a real treat. But yeah, we can sort of get into it. I was gonna, let's see, wait a little bit. Yeah, Aaliyah, Malcolm, what's up, everybody? Mia, it's been too long. Yeah, Kenya, yeah, everybody, it's good to see you guys. And then we're gonna do John's gonna do his thing, and then at the end, if you guys have any questions, we'll do a little Q&A section at the end, and I can put you on cam or not. But if you have any questions while John's doing his thing, then just let us know. But that's awesome. I think we're ready to go. Yeah.
Sweet, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody, thank you again for coming. I wanted to introduce everybody to my friend John Nevarez. We see each other once every 2-3 years or something like that at CTN or Lightbox Expo or something. But then John is the occasionally in the animation industry, you'll meet people that are just the sweetest, nicest people that you've ever met in the world, and you're like, wow. It sort of makes being in this industry worthwhile. And so I'm not the only one that will say that, but John Nevarez has been a film and story artist in the animation industry now for over 23 years. Is it 23?
23, yeah. It'll be 24 in October, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Crazy, yeah.
Got to start at Disney Television Animation as a storyboard artist on such shows as Pepper Ann and Kim Possible, which I love. And then he transitioned over as a designer on Disney Toons, where he worked on Tinkerbell, Kronk's New Groove, and Brother Bear 2. And then, if that wasn't enough, John also worked as a biz dev artist for Magi Studios on Astro Boy, and then with Pixar on Cars 2, Monsters University, Inside Out, and Coco, which is amazing, one of my favorite Pixar movies. He also worked on the Angry Birds movie, Into the Spider-Verse, which I'm sure some people have heard of, Emoji Movie, Scoob, and even more. He's still doing more today. So welcome, John.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks so much for that intro, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it had to be abbreviated. You worked on so much. Yeah, so check it out, guys. So John, in this panel today, is going to walk us through his thought process on how he brainstorms like storytelling moments and with environments and characters and anything like process stuff to just sort of demystify the process of how working professional like John starts in the beginning from that scary white page that you're like, what am I going to start out with and do? And and then hopefully it kind of gives everyone some insight on how you can approach your own design portfolios, you know, in terms of like how you break down like the storytelling moments and character design exploration, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, kind of exercises and how you can sort of develop and sharpen your skills, you know. So this is us to you. I know a lot of people are working on their own design production portfolios. So like whatever we can do to help you guys out and demystify the process on how it actually works when you're a working professional, when you guys become working professionals, because it will happen. So that said, me and John wanted to open it up to the attendees. So I'll tell a little story about when I was in I took the TalDev training program at Disney Feature Animation, and our first assignment was to pick a classic familiar story and then do your own specific take on it, right? So for instance, mine was, I did Peter Pan, but what's the spin on it? Like, what's the specific take on it? So I put, what if Peter Pan happened in medieval Japan, right? So maybe that's a fresh take that, you know, we can sort of go down. So I wanted to ask the attendees if you guys had any ideas on like a classic story that you guys would want to see like a fresh take or specific take on it. And John is so good at like improvising and that kind of stuff. So he's just going to run with it. And I don't know if you guys want to, John, if you want to take a look at the chat or anything like that. We have some ideas already. We have Thumbelina. We have The Wizard of Oz. Snow White dies. If Snow White dies because of
poison banana.
Harry Potter, Hansel and Gretel underwater, Goldilocks.
And the Three Bears, but Goldie is a hunter. Oh, that's a cool spin. Little Mermaid. Robin Hood is in a sci-fi setting. Cool. What if Hamilton really was black but white passing? That's interesting. Oh my gosh.
We can keep going. Icarus. Yeah. Steampunk Icarus. Yeah. These are great.
Yeah. Throw them out. Yeah. I was gonna share. You know, part of being a biz dev designer is that, you know, you have to go in and you have to accept the challenge. It's not like you really have a choice as far as what you work on. I don't want to say like you don't ever have a choice, but basically, you know, when you're working for a studio or a crew, you have to accept the challenge and you have to pretty much, you know, whatever they tell you, whatever lands on your plate, you have to run with it. And you have to make the best of it. So there's been a lot of times from my experience where there's a lot of things that I have no idea about. Like when I was on Cars 2, you know, I'm not a Cars guy. I didn't even see the Cars 1 movie when I started Cars 2. So I had to go really like, oh my gosh, I better see Cars 1. And I don't, I'm not a Cars guy. I don't know anything about cars. I just know how to fill them and wash them, and that's it. So you just have to accept the challenge, and then you have to like learn. And a lot of the learning is like getting your research, knowing what the story is about, and then you just start from there. You just kind of, you know, takes, you know, stabs at it, and it's all trial and error. It's all exploration. It's probably hundreds or thousands of drawings and just trying to figure out what feels good. So it's kind of like that's basically the job. The job is kind of, I tell people it's like Project Runway. You know, they launch you on something, and inside your head you're like, what? I have to do that by when with what and what, you know, and then you just go for it. And then your whole goal is to deliver what you can as best as you can, which serves the needs of the assignment, or in this case, story, by a certain deadline. And that's all you can do. That is the job. And after a while, you learn that there's a process, and the process gets a little easier to digest, where you figure out where not to burn your engines. You know, you kind of like do your research first, know your story, and then once you know your story, or you set your target, then you start try to know the world as much as you can, try and know the character as much as you can, get as much research as you can, and then you take little bites. Little bites means like you do like thumbnail explorations, you do like really quick scratches, and then you do it back and forth. You sell your ideas, you sell your approaches to your art director and director, and he or she will, you have a conversation, and then you go back and forth until you refine your target, until they like, or they'll sign off on what they like, what they don't like, and then with the things that they do like, you run with them until you get to a point where then you put more love, more sexiness, more detail, more whatever they need to finish. That's working smart. You don't want to go all in from the front, because they need to sign off on it, and they're gonna have notes. So basically, I guess what I wanted to do is I wanted to share that with you, because as a lot of young folks here are going to enter the industry, you know, they feel like there's this kind of need that they have to impress right away, and they have to, you know, give them like a finished thing on the first viewing, and that's not the case. You need to have a conversation. You need to present your research, your reference. You need to share ideas first in verbal communication. You know, you need to have this conversation so that way you can kind of get a better idea of what to hit. Think of it this way: if you were a director and you had an art team, and then after the first meeting, someone brought these finished, beautiful paintings all at once, your first impression was, wow, beautiful. But then you're going to say like, yeah, but it's not what I want. You know, all the stuff you have is beautiful, but it's not really serving the needs that I need for my story. So you have to ask yourself, was it a smart move to go all the way in? I mean, you may have impressed them, but at the same time, you burn all that energy and time into doing this that you knew was going to change. So what you want to do is you want to start slow, and then save all that impression, you know, that impression you want to save for later, you know, once you have a fulfilled target, once you kind of know what you're going to hit. So I just want to say that out, because that's kind of like, that's my frame of mind when I go into things. And pretty much, you know, any visual dev artist, you want to, you know, you have to set your targets, and there's this process of moving forward without killing yourself. You don't want to kill yourself, because, you know, this is what we do every day. So. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Do we, I took a list of like the prompts. And so John, whatever you respond to, man, I'll read them off. You guys ready? Everyone ready for this? Okay, so I got King Midas, which I actually have to look up more.
Me too. See, research. I have to know what the story is about.
Guys who went to art school. Bollywood Cinderella. Ooh, that could be interesting. Sci-fi Robin Hood. Your take on Little Mermaid. Treasure Island. That's pretty dope. Goldilocks, but Goldie as a hunter. Hansel and Gretel underwater. An American school to Harry Potter. Thumbelina, Wizard of Oz, and Alice in Wonderland as a video game. Any of those? How do you feel, man?
They all sound good. You know, it's hard to make a choice, because it's like, you know, some of them are kind of like, oh, that'd be kind of cool, but I think I'm liking it because I'm familiar with the story. And others sound like a challenge where like, oh, that would be kind of cool to see, you know, like it's something totally off the far end. But yeah, I mean, I think Goldilocks and Three Bears would be cool. Goldilocks the Hunter would be kind of cool, because that's a different take.
You want to do that?
Yeah, let's do that, and let's see where that goes. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do it. All right.
Sweet.
All right. So Goldilocks and the Three Bears, or Goldilocks, but Goldie is a hunter. Awesome. Okay, cool.
Cool. These are all great ideas, by the way. I mean, they're all awesome. So
yeah.
So thank you so much, everyone, for throwing these out.
Right. Go ahead, John.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Bobby. I was gonna say, should I start sharing my screen?
Yes, sir.
Sweet. So hopefully you see a blank canvas.
Yes.
Okay. Sweet.
Ooh, I'm so excited. So what do you start out with when you get a prompt like this, John?
What's funny, it all depends on what they want me to do. Like for example, if they want me to start doing characters, I'll just start doing character studies. And usually, at this point, I would just do reference. So let me see. Let me write this down here. Goldilocks. Actually, Goldilocks. I'm spelling Goldilocks and 3 bears, but she is the hunter. Okay. So at this point, I would kind of, if there was a script involved or if there was some kind of launch on the story, I would try and get like information on it. So this I'm familiar with. Goldilocks 3 Bears, classic story. We got 4 characters. We got the family of bears, mama bear, papa bear, baby bear, and we have Goldilocks, the young girl who kind of gets lost, but then she kind of discovers the house when they're not there. She kind of ransacks their food, breaks their furniture, and sleeps in their bed, and she gets chased out. So that we know. So at this point, I'm kind of like, okay, what are the things I need to know? Maybe time. I have to maybe find out, like, are these animals anthropomorphic? Do they talk? Do they wear clothes? I need to kind of establish kind of like the technology or actually the rules of the universe. So I have an idea, like when I go further in design, like I'm designing to those points. Mm-hmm. So if they're anthropomorphic, they're gonna be more they're gonna be on 2s usually. They're gonna be holding things. They're gonna be wearing clothes and so forth. Let's see. Or will they be talking? And then let's see. Another thing I would have to do is like, okay, figure out their houses. So we know that they live in a house. So I think that's the big takeaway, where they're kind of like, I'm assuming they're going to be anthropomorphic, but they live in a house. So the house, from my point, is like usually a typical house. So it's a human house. So the rules are, they're these animals, anthropomorphic. They walk and talk, wear clothes, and there's a human house. And the house can actually, we can have a little fun with that house. We can kind of say like, well, is it like a typical house that maybe a human made, that they just happen to live there? Or is there bear elements? So when I say by bear elements, are there things in there that we can kind of like add that kind of tells us it's a bear, it's closer to a bear world. Like maybe the rooftops are made out of like thick, pieces of logs or so forth. Maybe instead of the walls being made out of wood, like they usually would, like this, maybe they're made out of stone, but they still keep that framework of a house. I'm drawing really sloppy right now. I haven't really started. I'm just like throwing these thoughts around, like, okay, what is this? Usually these things are established for me, and I kind of go with it. But because they're not, I think right now I'm just having a conversation, like, okay, what can we do? What can we do? So we've got Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear, and then we have Goldilocks. Okay, so there's G. Now, the only thing we have different is Goldilocks is a hunter. So basically, there's like a little spin on like personality, or at least personality traits. Like, okay, she's a hunter. So is she a hunter where she just happens to be in the woods with a gun and she's there defending herself, or does she have the intent on like she's looking for a bear? So knowing that, I can kind of like play on personality types, like, okay, she's probably aggressive, she's probably she's a hunter. Is she aggressive? Personality traits are is she mean? As far as physical traits, do we still want to make her short? Like, how old is she? Let's just say, just for the sake of the story, let's make her maybe 10 years old. What's her appearance? Is she really thin? Is she lanky? Is she tall? Is she maybe perhaps a little chubby? What's her hair like? What's her clothing like? If she's a hunter, she's probably wearing camouflage. And she's probably, with the camouflage, she's probably has all the tactical gear that a hunter would probably have when they go hunting. So she'd probably have the camouflage. She would probably have maybe the weapon. We have to have a weapon of choice. Is it a rifle? Is it the hunter? It can also be like a bow and arrow, perhaps, or one of those sling arrows, those sling guns. Yeah. She probably has a dagger. Does she camouflage her face as well? Does she have like,
yeah. No.
Is she wearing a hat? So all these things I want to consider.
Yeah.
And then also what helps too is when I'm kind of carving her personality, once I know kind of like her personality traits, I can then kind of try and channel like maybe a character or somebody that kind of I know that can kind of help kind of lead that personality. For example, what if she's a hunter and she's a 10-year-old and she has the personality of Danny DeVito? Okay, so we all know Danny DeVito. You know, Danny DeVito is this short, gruffy guy, but he's like, you know, he's kind of really rough on the side. Yeah. Maybe he's off color with comments. You know, he kind of has like, you know, that kind of thing. Or instead of that, maybe he instead of Danny DeVito, maybe he's more like oh gosh, I think it's Christopher Waltz from Inglourious Basterds.
Sure. Yeah.
Where maybe he's kind of like this elegant, very smart person, but underneath all of that smartness and kind of charm, he's just a killer. Like he has this kind of like silent, you know, way of like, you know, torturing people or bringing some kind of silent terror. So it could be that. What if it's Tim Gunn? You know, maybe, you know, Tim Gunn is the host of Project Runway, very tall and elegant, very soft spoken, but definitely has opinions. But you know, his opinions come off as very, you know, someone from history, and you know, is very well thinking, and so forth. Has a sense of style when he talks. So anyway, these are things to consider when you're kind of like doing character zones. So I mean, I'm just kind of like rifling these off, but these are things I need to do. I just don't want to like, I mean, I could like spitball and just kind of like, you know, like, oh, I'm just gonna draw the bears and just kind of see how they look like that. But these are like my targets. These are kind of like things that are going to help me kind of figure out who these are. Okay. Now, really quickly, for the house, I have to think about the house. I have to think about what's inside. You know, I have to think about perhaps the style of the house. Is it like arts and crafts? You know, is it a wood lodge? Do these bears have a sense of style, and did they have a like maybe what, you know, I'm assuming because they wear clothes and they're anthropomorphic that the dad and mom have day jobs perhaps, and they probably have a car, and so maybe the dad could be, I mean, if we're gonna bend the rules and really gonna go that route, it's like, well, maybe the father is an architect, or maybe he's a businessman, maybe they have a means of money, and maybe their house is very stylish, and maybe it's a second story. You know, it's very modern, perhaps. Maybe it's retro. Maybe they're hipsters. I don't know. So all these things kind of play into the style, because the house, in most stories, actually in all stories, the house is a location, and the location serves. There's DNA from your characters, and what I mean by that is whether it's a work location or a living location. In there is a bit of the characters inside without the characters actually being there. For example, it's their taste of furniture, it's their their sense of color, their sense of what they like, what they don't like, maybe their favorite teams, maybe their certain tastes. Like someone who's like into the 50s, if you go into their house, they'll probably have things that have like kitschy stuff that's made in the 50s. Someone who loves like sports, you know, they're gonna have like maybe posters of their favorite characters. They're probably gonna have the TV on. Maybe they're gonna have a big TV, right? Because they want to, see their favorite games. Maybe inside they have like in a glass case helmets or whatever, insignia, props, anything that they bought. Maybe, you know, their favorite teams with their pennant flags and so forth. Maybe the house is, in a way, they have the colors of their teams. Anyway, that is just something that I have to think about in the mix. Like, is the house going to have a DNA? And I could like skewer it all the way so that it's very whimsical, or I can lean it the other way. So anyway, this is where I'm going to stop. I'm talking and I'm going to start drawing. So these are kind of the things I have to think about. So if I was, and it all depends, like when you go in for a job, you might just be a character designer, so you just fulfill the character side. You might just be brought in to do locations, so you just do the location side of it. Or you might do a little both, where you're doing beginning exploration. In this case, this is what we'll do. So,
sorry, John, real quick. Kylie in the chat had a question of like, would a director usually come to a production designer, viz. Artist with a vague or looser prompt or how specific do they get? I think when they come to you.
Good question. Some production designers are very specific, and they, you know, he or she, they know exactly what they want, or at least are very close to what they want. So they kind of give you everything. They kind of give you, you know, everything that they're thinking of, and then it's kind of an easier thing. Like, okay, you do your reference, and then you kind of, you don't have to, like, you know, hunt so much down for the questions. So it's like everything's kind of answered for you. So you just kind of have to start there. Other times you might work with a director, an art director. You might work with a production designer, art director, where they don't really know, or they haven't found it yet. So there's that open.
Yep.
There's an open net where it's like, you know, where do you begin? So there's no right or wrong answers. And by the way, when you think of biz dev, there's no right or wrong answer. It's not like math where there's an absolute answer. It's weaker and stronger, and it's all based on taste. Okay, so think of it that way when you go in, because I know a lot of people freeze up. It's like, oh, it's not the perfect drawing. It's not this, like that. No. It's weaker and stronger based on what gets closer emotionally to what you're trying to hit in the story. So when you have an open net like that, as far as like the art director is kind of may not know, or it's like there's open targets, then you want to like maybe explore the variations. So maybe you want to explore one version that's very extreme or very liberal in the ideas. Maybe one that's more conservative, safer to what we know, and then maybe something in the middle, which is kind of, it could be your take on the half and so forth. So that way you can kind of present three ideas, but that the three ideas you want to like show them loosely without too much drawing, so you don't spin your wheels. You know, you're trying to get something, you're trying to get a buy off on the idea and where to start. Right. So yeah, so. Great. I usually like to start with basic shapes. So I'm kind of like, you know, basic shapes, and depending on the style of the show, I have to figure out, is this style, you know, is this for 2D or is this for 3D, you know, CGI? Usually 2D, it's usually, not always, but it's usually line drawing. You know, it's line drawings, it's usually line art, and underneath it's color with texture. Great shows to think in mind are like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, The Owl House, Amphibia. Those shows are very typical 2D line art color, and so a lot of them will have the line art will be pretty key as far as like the style of the show. 3D shows, some shows in TV are 3D. What they do is you have to consider more lighting, and things are more sculptural because things are coming in and out of space. And you know, things you have to, you know, if the light is hitting you, like say this is a flashlight, you're thinking about lighting, how lighting affects things, and then there's a sense of depth and so forth. So so I'm just gonna like rip out. So I'm just gonna like, as I draw, I really keep things simple, and I'm thinking like, well, maybe, you know, is this kind of like a Pooh Bear, you know, maybe he's got glasses, I don't know, or maybe I have to figure out the style and design. There's no right or wrong for the bear. There's different ways of how people approach a bear. So I'm just going off memory, and I haven't done my research, so I'm just kind of going off on whatever. So I'm gonna keep the proportions, and I want to make sure, you know, I'm keeping the proportions. If this was a bear on all fours, he'd be like, you know, short legs, long body. So that way when they stand, it's like that. I want to be careful not to go too much into furry land where it's more of a human body, you know, and then they just have bear heads. You know, I want to maybe not go that route. So I want to like, oh, I really want to maybe keep their animal proportions and so forth. So this is how I'll begin. So once I do that, you know, I just kind of like can play with it, and I can keep going further and further. So I'm just going to riff on something, and I always like to start with the circle. You know, I like to put the eyes on, and say I'm drawing the baby bear. So maybe, you know, typical nose like that, and I give him the nice Disney cheeks. The Disney cheeks is like when there's a little bit of cheek there. Disney, you know, you see that in Mickey Mouse and other characters where they have a little cheek, a little fatness, a little chubbiness to the.
John, do you like to figure out the characters first before you go into like the story moments or like compositions and that kind of stuff?
Not necessarily. I like to get an idea of their proportions as far as like a rough idea of their their look and style. Yeah, so because that way I can kind of frame it. Like right now, I'm kind of like doing this typical kind of. I'm just using forms to kind of like get an idea. So maybe here's one version. Maybe I can have another version where he's kind of like he's got. Maybe he's kind of like that. I don't know. Maybe he's gonna like, I'm gonna give him hip. Maybe he's gonna. Maybe playing with the portions where maybe he's got really short feet and maybe he's got sneakers. And then maybe I have to actually figure out also is like, well, as far as the bear or any character, you have to think about like appendages. You have to think about as far as animals, you consider like, do you kind of keep things like their paws really thick and more animal-like, or do you want to like take a little license and then kind of lengthen maybe the fingers and so forth, because you have to consider how they're going to hold things, are they going to push things in, it's things like this, and that's something that can be open as far as discussion and so forth. So once I have that, I'm just gonna like quickly just kind of go with it. I'm just gonna put these here, and I'm just gonna quickly kind of figure out what those are.
So
and I have to.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, Bobby.
You try to break it down like it looks like break it down technically at first, so that you could take more posing and storytelling moments with them later. But like you try to break down the kind of the meat and potatoes of like what the design and style is going to be in the beginning.
Yes. I'm just trying to like get an idea of what these are, and I have to apologize. I mean, this is kind of on the cuff, so ideally we would have like maybe a few days or maybe like a little more time to do this. But right now I'm just kind of like, I'm just kind of like going from here and just zinging through this stuff really fast.
Sure, yeah. This is great.
But yeah, once I have this, then I can kind of like, okay, once I have a design, then I can think about the cast. And part of a job of character designer is you're not only doing one character, you're doing the lineup, you're doing the ensemble. So then I kind of like think about a variation. I would do like maybe a quick lineup, and I would kind of say like, well, that's the dad. Maybe this is the mom. Maybe the mom could be shorter, not necessarily. Maybe I can give her like a little bit of curves, perhaps, and then legs like that, and they're like maybe their arms are kind of short like that. and then I could play with the hair, perhaps. Maybe she has I don't know. I mean, if I ever want, you can play with the hair on a bear. You can kind of keep it no hair, but maybe you can kind of play with that style, perhaps.
Yeah.
Introduce baby bear, and then maybe Goldilocks is a little bit on the same size. Okay, let me jump over to Goldilocks. Okay, so Goldilocks, I don't know, she's a hunter. Does she have like, maybe I'm gonna keep her round. Maybe she has. Maybe she's got the typo.
That's really funny.
Maybe she Tommy gun, perhaps. Maybe she. I'd have to do my research, but maybe I'm gonna push the proportions so big that they're almost comical, and they're kind of like, what? I mean, like this lady, she means business. So maybe I can give her like maybe tactical boots, perhaps. Maybe she's got like this gearage, like bombs or knives or a dagger, like she has like right here. Maybe. And then I haven't done her hair yet, so maybe she her hair Goldilocks. So maybe we can kind of keep her with like one of those bow hairs like this, or maybe let's see. I'm sorry. Go back. Change that to another layer, so we can change the versions. And what I like to do is when I play versions, I like separate layers. So I'm like, okay, maybe she has this hair, and maybe the contrast is she has this nice hair, but she still has a flower. So that's one version. Maybe she has these goggles, perhaps like night vision and so forth, and she's got a helmet. So maybe to build that combat era. I don't know. Maybe she's a partner and she's miking into somebody. I don't know. Maybe she has one of those, like in Vietnam, you always see those hats like the GIs would wear. Camouflage, like that. Maybe she's kind of, you know, she has like a hat that's tipped backwards, you know, so forth. Anyway, there's things like that. And of course you can, I mean, you can not do that. You can just play with other things too. Maybe she's got long hair, perhaps, or maybe she's got, I don't know, a little beehive.
That's funny.
So anyway, once I have that, then it's like, okay, if I like that, then I kind of like would play with her expressions.
Yeah.
And I kind of like would just kind of like, you know, maybe, and I always keep the construction in when I'm beginning. It's like that just helps kind of lay things on.
Yeah.
As where they're at. Yeah. You know, maybe she kind of like.
It's really funny.
She threw the dagger, or maybe you know, she's like going all Rambo like, you know, she's kind of like, you
so
know, she kind of.
You're thinking about performance from the get-go.
Pretty much, yeah. I kind of, you know, it's. I was lucky enough where I started from storyboards, so we had to like think. You know, I was like thinking in stories already. I was like thinking like, how do I position these folks? And that's kind of what I usually do. Once I kind of had a riff character, I would kind of start posing them. You know, I would kind of like, you know, well, how would they look like? You know, based on their personality. Like, you know, if they're a hunter, they're going to be in like hunting poses, or they're going to be in like these aggressive crouches, pouncing, and so forth. You know.
Yeah.
You know. Maybe, you know, I would just think about, because I eventually they're going to be in that, probably in those scenarios anyway.
Yeah.
You know, she's doing the platoon, kind of like, yeah. Or maybe she's kind of like, you know, here's a limb, right? And then she's kind of.
Yeah.
So maybe she's kind of.
Right.
Thinking about that. You know, how would she sit down? You know, like if she's sitting down, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, if she's sitting down on a log, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe she's got. Maybe she's sitting down cross-eyed, and maybe she's whittling something.
I can see how you posing the character out sort of determines the sort of design aesthetic that you give the actual character design. Like. Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of, yeah, it just kind of, yeah, all these things kind of play into like, okay, well, how can I take it, and so forth. You know, so anyway, I'm just having fun. You know, I'm just, there's no right or wrong. You're just kind of exploring. You know, you're just kind of like spitting it out and like, what are the possibilities? Where can I take this? What's the range? And you know, where can I go? You know, you can definitely play with contrast. You know, she can probably have like this aggressive side, and then maybe she can be like, you know, like who, me? You know, that kind of, you know, this innocent kind of. Maybe she has a dress on, you know. And she's got one of those things like, you know, innocent, like, oh, you know, I've never seen a gun. How do you spell gun? I don't know. Anyway, you can have those A/B poses, contrast, and so forth. Okay, so once you do that, then it's kind of like, okay, then I'm gonna say I move this forward to the housing and so forth. So I have the bears, and once I kind of have an idea, then I kind of like take stabs at the house. So let's just say, what, you know, what kind of houses they could be. So, you know, I could riff on like, well, if it's a modern house, I'm going to play with this, basically the basic frame. So maybe it's an A-frame house, you know, or maybe they have a garage. Here's the house here. Here's windows. Maybe have the dormers, perhaps. Maybe here they have a fireplace. And so forth. And I have to think about like, well, where's their location at? You know, is it based on the hills and so forth? Like basically, maybe there's a mountainside. And I'm using grids here to kind of suggest the topography. So maybe from there, you know, is their house like set against the side there?
Uh-huh.
And then all around they have homes, but there's this clearing in the foreground that kind of like that leads to a street or dirt road, or perhaps just their mailbox. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So these things I have to consider. So
Yep.
is it hidden? Is it camouflage? Is it up above? Is it an open pasture where maybe there's houses all around, or trees all around, and then right in the middle is their house. So there's a clearing, and maybe they have a garden. Maybe you want to say like, well, maybe they're refined, so they have a garden. Maybe there's a tree and there's a tree house. So maybe the little bear has a tree house, perhaps, and so forth. Maybe they have those studio sheds. So maybe the dad works out, or the mom has like a home office right here on the side, perhaps. Or maybe they have I don't know, they have a huge solar system and so forth, and they're kind of they're locking into other things outside, broken cable perhaps. Or maybe they live on a typical street. Maybe they live on maybe on a flat clearing.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a lawn that's very refined. Maybe this isn't really a dirt road. Maybe it's a little bit paved. Maybe it's broken. So there's nobody out there, but maybe it's an open field.
Yeah.
And then maybe this is their house.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just an open clearing. Maybe here's their house and so forth.
Yeah. That drawing is already better than anything I've drawn. The one thing that I was noticing from the way that you think, John, is like you're always in the space of like, maybe it's this, maybe it's A, maybe it's B, maybe it's C. And so one of the things I didn't even realize in art school is just kind of like not kind of like tying down to one single idea right away. It's just about generating as many ideas as you can. Is that correct with your process?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm kind of like looking for opportunities, versions, options, variants, anything like that. There's no right or wrong. And I'm really drawing really loose and scratchy because I'm just trying to like throw down the idea, and I'm not refining it, at least not yet. I'm just kind of like thinking like, oh, that could be a way to go, and I'm not really thinking about pretty drawings so much. This isn't pretty. Right now, I'm just thinking, these are ideas. These are ideas, loose ideas, scratchy ideas. But anyway, these are just points of conversation that you can have and say like, oh, share this with your director, your art director, and say like, well, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking like, this is a turn of the century home. We kind of push things that are more whimsical. The proportions are pushed. I was thinking maybe that, they have a modern take on things, and maybe the fireplace is these huge bricks. So we're going to build on things that are out of nature and so forth. Maybe log cabins. Maybe the house could have like this kind of like log cabin feel. You play with these ideas, and they're crude, but at least if they like it, then you can spend a little more time on the next step, on the next level of thought, and then refine what those are. And then you can push maybe these little aesthetics you have to think about. Is it whimsy? And whimsy means you're just playing with proportions. You play up proportions. Proportions can be playful. The proportions can have to do with maybe how you play with their forms, scale. Maybe consider tapering. Tapering means when things are kind of coming in like that. So say, for example, you have a house, and say a typical house has that kind of frame. Playing with proportions, maybe you're skewing up proportions so that way the house, the top frame of the house is really pushed, or maybe it's really squat and you're kind of giving a chunkiness to things and so forth. So these are like just aesthetic takes as far as what you can do with the design. There's no right or wrong. You're just kind of like taking where it goes.
Yeah.
So when you think of the house, and again, I'm just thinking about the look. What I should do is when I'm thinking of the house, I have to consider the needs of the story. So the needs of the story might be like, we're going to go in the house. Okay, what are we going to see in the house? Well, there's going to be a thing that happens in the kitchen where they have to taste stuff. Okay, so I have to have a kitchen, and she sits at the table and she's gonna try out the porridge. Oh, okay, so inside the kitchen there is a table. Okay, very cool. Okay, and then she goes in the living room and she tries out the chairs. Okay, so there's going to be a living room. Okay, great. And there's going to be furniture. There's going to be some chairs. So these are things. These are iconic things that I need to fulfill to put into my set.
Yeah.
And then I think the third part of it is like she goes. I think they said she goes upstairs to the bedrooms. So upstairs, maybe this is a 2-story. We can definitely change it to 1-story, but basically based on what we know, it's 2-story. Okay, so upstairs and then there's bedrooms. Now she said she goes from bed to bed to bed, but I have to ask myself, like, are they all in one bedroom, or does the mom and dad have one bedroom and then the baby bear has a separate bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to ask myself, bedroom or bedrooms, with an S. I have to figure out, maybe it's easier if they're all in just one. Mm-hmm. And then I have to consider stairs and so forth. So all these things I have to consider. So if I was to add, like a 3/4 down view and I kind of figure out what this house is, it's like, okay, once you go into the house, say here's Goldilocks. You go into the house, you have this layout of what the house could be. So maybe she goes in, maybe to the left is the kitchen. So maybe here's the kitchen. So here's my K. Maybe out here, all right here is the living room. If I can spell living room. Okay. Maybe right here are some stairs that kind of go up. Maybe here's a landing. And then up above, on all above is right here at the bedroom. So down here, maybe right here, there could be, see if this is the house, maybe there could be a huge screen TV here. Maybe here's dad's chair, mom's chair. Here's the lamp, rug perhaps. Right here, furniture. Maybe right here is a fireplace that kind of comes up like this.
Whoa, cool.
Okay, so once I do that, then it's like, okay, then I can kind of consider the walls and the shell of the house. Maybe.
This is like magic, by the way. Do you, John? Do you figure it helps you to make these kinds of orthographic sketches before you lean into the story moments?
It can sometimes. I think it definitely does, because in the story moments, I have to have I actually have the place designed so I can move the camera around. Otherwise, if I don't have a design kind of locked in, things will float and then they'll feel like they're different places. So I think what helps is like knowing what the location is in the design. I mean, I think if you want to nail down the design first, that really helps, and then you go into your story moments, especially for locations like rooms, houses, and so forth. There's a little bit of room there when you're playing with forests and things organic, because it's not like one specific tree. It's like, well, it's just trees everywhere, or plants or vegetation. But I think what helps before you go into story moments is locking in a location.
Got it.
So here I am. I'm just thinking about what this could be. So I'm just kind of, without really doing the design, I'm kind of fulfilling what the needs are based on the story. So, and this can totally change. I mean, if I was to do my down view from this, it's like, this is what I have. I have my here's my door. I have my kitchen here. I have my stairs going this way that lead up into the bedrooms up above. I have my big screen TV here. I have a chair here, so they're facing this way. And somewhere here I have a fireplace. Okay, that can all change. What if I want to say, like, okay, what if you're gonna, it comes in from the middle, and then there's a hallway, and then here's the kitchen, and then right next to the kitchen there is a pantry. I don't know, perhaps they keep food, and then right here is a small living room, but then right here the bedrooms are right next to it. So everything is one story. So maybe, pathways, she can go this way, she can go that way, she can go through here, this way, maybe she goes in the back. I don't know. I'm kind of like figuring out the layout, or considering the layout. This is if I'm doing like location design, I'm considering like, what's the layout? Where do we go? What do we see? What's in the room? I'm thinking about like easy access, easy movement from one to another. I'm thinking about types of houses, the people who live in here, what would they have, and so forth. So it's very open-ended. A lot of things I have to figure out, but that's okay. I'm just trying that. You shouldn't be so like flummoxed or frozen, so that way there's so many options. What's great is that you have a lot of options, but now there's the liberty that you can change it to what you need. And that's okay.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
So I would say, yeah. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna put all this into a group, and I'm gonna go into story moments really quickly.
Nice.
And so I'm I don't know what that is. I'm gonna erase that. Okay. So basically, what story moments are. I think I wanted to first kind of talk a little bit, really quickly, really briefly, what story moments are. Story moments, from my experience, are just pretty much clips of the scene. They're clips of your story. Think of it as like a storybook that you can kind of like glance through in like maybe this limited number of series. Like it could be like 12 images. It could even be 5 images, but usually 20 images that kind of give you a glimpse of what your story is. So story moments, think of them as clips of a movie. Okay, think of it like a storybook. And what they're usually, the storybook is, they're usually based on those high or important movements or moments. I'll say moments of your story. And there's usually an introduction, so that way we know the world, their characters. We have a sense of their status quo. You're giving an idea of their technology, and you're setting out the rules. You know, in this case, it's like Goldilocks and 3 bears. These 3 bears, they live in this house. The dad does this, mom does that, the little babe does this. This is their typical day. They drive a car. So basically, you're giving them the rules in the universe, so that way we can buy off on it. It's like, okay, everything's explained to us. That's all. You're giving us all the info of the world, so we can buy off on it. Okay. So once we do that, then there's usually a situation. You know, usually in classic storytelling, there's exposition, inciting incident, and progressive complications that lead up to a climax, and then you get your resolution. Those are just typical story structure frame points. You kind of, you know, most stories have that same thing abbreviated in that thing. There's usually a situation. A situation is usually something that rocks the character's world. It could be good or bad. So basically, something takes it out of the status quo. There's a situation, and usually there's a want or a need. Not always, but there's something there. Okay, and then from there, then I say what starts is the journey, or basically the path of the hero to get what he or she needs. And along the way, you know, they meet people. There's encounters. They go to probably different locations. And if not, maybe it's all taking place in one location. That's fine too. But maybe within there, things are discussed, information is given out, revelations are revealed, discoveries are made, all that stuff. There's things unfolding in front of you. So basically all that. So I'm just going to go and say like, okay, I'm just going to really quickly, I'll show you how I kind of would start. By the way, I like to work in either 1:8:5 or 2:3:5 ratio. And how I go about that is I usually use the marquee sign here, and I change this to fixed ratio. It's at 1:8:5. And I marquee out, and I do edit stroke, and I'll just make it 8. Okay, so that is a 1:8:5, and I'm gonna do 1:8:5. So that is my 1:8:5 ratio. This is what most TVs are made at. Most TV shows are made at HDTV 1:8:5. Another angle I like to use, another ratio I like to use is a little wider. It's 2:3:5, and it's more filmic. It's more featuresque. It's wider. Edit stroke. Okay. And 2:3:5. So I got the 2 ratios. I got that and that. And I'm just going to color code for my benefit. Put them way on top. And I'm going to close all this down so I don't have to go to it. Okay. So 2:3:5, 1:8:5. And what I like to do is, as I'm kind of doing story moments, I kind of like to work, really briefly, or not briefly, but really loosely do frame outs as far as what these could be. This could totally change, but I like to kind of at least have a window of what I'm working in. So once I do that, then I'll kind of like start figuring out what that could be. Say I want to do an exterior shot of what the house could be like. So maybe, again, I would probably maybe do a typical house like that. Maybe there's some vegetation here. Maybe there's a carport, perhaps. You know, maybe there's a window here, some dormers. Maybe I'm going to add a fireplace here. You know, vegetation. Maybe a window here. Right here is the front door where you enter. So there's kind of like this sidewalk, this path that goes around. Vegetation. There's a garden, perhaps. Maybe here's a mailbox. You know, maybe there's a white picket fence. I don't know who they're guarding it from, but there's a white picket fence. Maybe vegetation that surrounds them, trees perhaps. And then maybe in the carport, there is a nice car. Okay, and then I'm just going to shrink that down. Okay, so maybe I start with there, and then, you know, I could definitely move the camera around. Maybe it's, you know, I'm going to use grids to maybe get ideas of what that could be. Maybe I'm going to use a different angle of the house.
John, what does moving the camera around afford you, you think, in terms of kind of exploration and like storytelling and that kind of stuff?
I think moving the camera around just means like I'm the cameraman. It's like, or a camera person. I'm actually being dropped in, and I have my iPhone here. You know, I'm kind of like, you know, what am I going to look at, right? And I just dropped into the set, and so it's like, okay, what if I'm here looking at this way? What if I'm here looking this way? What if I'm here looking this way? What I'm doing is I'm having the liberty to move the camera around, so that way I can take different points of view, POVs. I can give a sense of scale. I can establish a wide shot as far as like, this is the whole house, and we want to maybe open wide, and we want to show the audience the White House, and then we can, from there, we can do close-ups in to start our story. So moving the camera around means I can definitely showcase different points of view. Like, say, for example, if this is told from a dog's point of view, I would probably have a lot of low angles, and then I would probably, everything would be skewed to the dog's point of view. Say this is the house, right? And then this is the front of the house. So if I was a dog,
that's cool.
so everything is told from the dog's point of view. You know, we see it through the eyes, through the eyes of the dog. You know, say, for example, if this was, you know, say your character happens to be a huge giant, you know, and then everyone is this tall. Well, maybe the house is like, let's see, this way, and then, so maybe here's your house, and then here's your character looking down.
That's funny.
Like that. And then, you know, what's sad is like, you know, he's just kind of always looking down. You know, like, you know, how come I can't go inside? Maybe add grids to suggest the upshot. You know, you can always have them, you know, you can always push these elements, like, you know, there's clouds around him, right? And so the clouds are like, you know, they can act as like elements, metaphors to his sadness. He's always in darkness, you know, that kind of thing, perhaps. So with the POV, you can kind of just move things around. And I like to kind of keep things kind of really loose. Say Goldilocks is in the forest and she's camouflaging and she's hunting. So I kind of like, you know, I like to kind of think, you know, with the grids of the ground, I like to kind of keep things organic. Kind of gives me a sense of what the camera and the topography is doing. You know, vegetation, I would kind of like, I create these like softness of what these could be, perhaps. Maybe. Maybe there's a foreground element.
Wow. Yep.
And then I would probably make that dark. Put that behind and make that a little bit lighter. And then I group them. And that's one option. Without the soft focus, I would duplicate it. I'd merge the duplication, and then I would do filter, blur, do a little Gaussian blur, and make it cinematic. That's too much. But I would probably put it. Oh, I grouped my hunter. Oh well. So that's an easy fix. I do this. Where is my hunter? So I'm just gonna take her out. Select inverse X. Select, reselect, select inverse X, good. And then I get these two guys, I'm gonna merge them, and then I'm gonna do that. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, there you go. So it's it becomes more a little cinematic. I'm having like a depth field.
Yeah.
So things kind of like, you're vignetting, you're kind of framing your focal point being where your hero is, or the most important thing in your frame, and so forth. So I'm just kind of, really quickly, I'm gonna just do this. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm gonna show you pretty much how I work. This is how I work.
Yeah.
And I work really loose. So I'll probably just say Goldilocks is in the forest. So I'll probably just kind of like, okay. So she's probably maybe there's something there. Maybe she's kind of hunting. Maybe there's weeds there, and in her wake, there's like it's the grass, but as she walks, she's kind of like breaking the weight.
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe she's come across in this opening. And then right there in the distance, you can see the house, perhaps.
Whoa, that's cool. Like a magic trick. My goodness. I'm not gonna pretend to be not blown away by everything you're doing right now. I'll just say it. This is cool. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, bro. No, thank you. I mean, this is all sloppy. This is really fast and dirty, but I'm kind of like moving so fast that here I'm going to add a little elevation to suggest.
Oh. Yeah. Whoa.
So anyway.
That's rad.
Maybe we want to show the angle where she's kind of coming up to the fringe, perhaps, of the house. So maybe she's kind of like, she's poking in, and she has like an ooh moment, and then maybe there's camouflage on her face where she's kind of. Maybe she's in darkness, and then she's kind of like separating the branches. Maybe there's a branch here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting. Huh.
Maybe the thicket, perhaps, but let's just kind of.
Yeah. Huh.
But anyway, she's looking, and then we can see her POV, perhaps. Maybe her POV is, she's in this opening.
Yeah.
And again, that could be the house there. Trees that have been vignetting. I want to leave this negative space that way. She's everything here is foreground. This is the back of her. She's seeing that. Maybe she goes inside the house, perhaps. Maybe an angle could be like let's see, an angle could be like she's approaching the house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's out her gun sling. Her gun is swinging in the back, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is the front door.
Oh.
Here's the window. Maybe there's stepping stones as you go in. There's flowers, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe she opens the door, or maybe to push the scale of the door.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the door is up to the low ground. Maybe she's like this. Here's the door knob.
Uh-huh.
Maybe she's looking up at it.
That's fun. Yeah.
Maybe her hands are to the side. Maybe maybe she's looking up. Maybe there's shadow, or there's shadow over everything else, kind of doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
The drama.
Oh. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Maybe she opens the door. She's opening the door. Maybe the angle's low. Door opens up. Right here is maybe the window, the house, the corner. Here's another window, perhaps. So the door's opening up like this. And then she's pushing the door like that. Maybe there's shadow. Maybe she has a knife. And then to push this shadow, this.
Woo! Tight. Love it. Wow, man.
And then she would also be in shadow.
Yeah.
Just to fulfill that moment. Of course, this would be.
Yep. Yep.
So basically, you can push that moment, and then you can have her POV on the entire room.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you could do, let's see, go on top, edit, fill, white. So if her POV is on the room, I'm going to say she's probably below angle. Here's the floor, the grid of the floor. Maybe right here are the stairs. So maybe the stairs go this way. Maybe the stairs go like that. They hit the wall, the landing, and then they go up.
Oh.
So maybe you got the. Trying to think what that could be. Wainscoting, perhaps. Here's the door. There's the high roof. So she got that. Maybe here's a painting, perhaps. Right here is probably the fireplace. Maybe painting. Maybe the guy's a fisherman, so here's a fish. Here's the mantle. Maybe there's some photos here. Maybe right here is a big screen TV. Right here is kind of like the small thing. There's books and videos, perhaps, and so forth. Maybe, let's see, I'm going to drop all that. Okay. And then maybe here we have, maybe it's dad's chair, perhaps. Maybe here, like that. Maybe we have mom's chair looking out like that. Maybe there's a coffee table, perhaps. Yeah. Maybe there's a little chair for Junior.
That's funny.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a plant.
Jeez.
Maybe there's more plants here. Maybe right here underneath there's a door that goes underneath. I don't know. Sure. There's a room underneath. Yeah. So anyway, and then
wow.
And then here's the wall break, and inside here is the kitchen, perhaps. Maybe where we can throw cupboards up above. Here's the stove to get a hint. Maybe there's a faucet. I don't know. So anyway.
Wow.
Knowing that, then I'm like, okay, from her POV, she's probably going to be.
Oh, yes.
Looking down.
Yeah.
So maybe, the door is open.
Wow.
and so forth. So if I was to frame this, it's like, okay, if I was to frame this, I could frame maybe just, oh, you know what? Better yet, let me do this. Where's those ratios I had? They're right somewhere down here. Did I just close them off? Yeah, here's my.
Oh yeah.
So I could just kind of move it like, okay, I could do that, or I could shrink it down, and I'm just going to frame that. Or maybe I don't even have her head. I could frame down like that.
Yep.
Maybe I can include more of the kitchen. So she's leaning more. She's screened right, and we're kind of favoring the kitchen.
Yep.
Maybe we show a little more like that.
Yep. Wow.
So anyway, with this, I can kind of like just kind of have an idea of like how I'm going to frame things, compose them.
Man.
So
what is art? What is perspective? Yeah, this is amazing, dude. Wow.
Oh, thanks, man. So it's just kind of, it's just, it's just being, accepting a challenge and just kind of seeing what goes. What if I want to do this? What if it's like, okay, what if she's,
okay, yeah. Different perspective. Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, different perspective. Here's the window. Here's the door that she was in. Here's the kitchen. There's a little sidebar, perhaps.
Yep.
So basically, when she enters the door, she's right here. Maybe she's already in. She's taking a step. That's her shadow on the ground. So we have maybe chairs are there.
Yeah.
So they're looking. Maybe we have. There's 2 steps coming in, perhaps, and then it climbs up. So it can either climb up this way. So that way we have the stairs, and then here's the landing this way. What if we want to see the POV from the top of the landing? And this is quick and dirty. Yeah, so there's one. What if we want to have the landing here? Here's the door. And I'm just going to try and figure out what this could be. Maybe the POV. Maybe this is my horizon.
Whoa.
And then door here. So the top door there goes, okay, so first floor somewhere in there. Here's the door. Okay, so I'm going to add these rafters, these support bars above. Here's your A-frame, perhaps. Boom, boom, like that. So yeah, once I do that, then basically I'm kind of laying out as though, what if a bear happens to be at the home and kind of like steps out and like, is somebody at the door? It's like, they just came out from this door. And then they're on the landing here. And then here are the steps leading down. Here.
Oh, dang. Wow. Yeah.
So basically. And then this is the wall that they're on. Wall. Here's the opening to the kitchen. Here's the door that opened that led them out. And there's Goldilocks. She's like ready to hunt this guy down. Maybe she took some chunks and she missed. I don't know. Maybe he's more like whoa.
Amazing.
But and then the ceiling rafters, perhaps.
Sure.
And then here's the corner. So anyway, just having a little fun with that. This is how I would like really quick and dirty figure out how to fuck the scene.
Yep.
So
you got your
wide shot like that. You can also do a smaller one. No, that's not. But yeah, so I mean, from
Awesome.
there I would probably do. Let's see, what would I do? From here, I would probably do a reaction, like maybe the let's see, going too fast. New angle.
Yeah. No,
You know.
you're good, man. You're good. You're good. You're not going to. This is amazing. So, yeah. You've done more art in the past hour than I have done in 20 years. I think.
No, man.
Yeah. I
No.
don't think I've done this much art in my whole life, probably. But
Oh, thanks.
that's okay. I mean,
No,
you know.
no, you're too kind. But no, I've seen your art, man. You're awesome and you're fast. You're like, oh my gosh.
Pass it all.
Good, but
Yeah. So we're getting into another angle here. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
maybe this could be the angle with the bear, and the bear's like, so that could be the
Oh,
conversation,
that's good. Ooh, I
the
like that.
revelation.
That's good.
So
That's good.
that's
That's good. Yeah.
that's the revolution. The
Ooh, I like that a lot.
so then we kind of do that, and we kind of like, okay, what's our framing? The framing could be maybe this
Oh.
shot here, you know, or it could be wider. It could be, you know, wider if you want it.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
It's like maybe she's up on the bedroom, and then maybe she's kind of coming in. She's got this maybe evil smile. She's lock and loaded.
That's pretty good. That's good.
She's in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I mean, this is starting to become dark now, but it's like, you know, you can kind of like see.
Oh man, that's really good. Oh. Oh, so funny.
You know, she's running away,
Uh-huh,
but then, you know, maybe she's.
Oh, John, this is a PG audience, man. You can't. No,
Well, it's gonna have a happy ending.
No. I'm kidding. Do your thing.
So he's like that, and then maybe, you know, it could be.
Whoa. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Blast.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then maybe as he's down.
I think your brain works too fast for my brain. I think you lost me at like 10 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. Your brain works so fast that I'm just appreciating something that happened 10 minutes ago and understanding it. But yeah, these are great. Yeah, keep going. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, brother. No, I just think about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then let's see.
Oh, this is cool. Yeah. Oh man, that's cool. That's great.
That's just working. She's like, huh?
No, that's great. I love that. That's cool.
And then, you know, maybe.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. That's great, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Dutch.
She's still kind of, yeah, she's kind of like, huh?
Uh-huh.
And then she has the look of like, ah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden and then we can kind of like, and then now she's on the move. She's like,
Oh, snap. Yeah, I like that too. Oh, man, that's great. Wow. Yeah.
And then you can kind of like have her. And then he's like that on the doorstep. And then
oh, that's awesome. It's a nice resolution. Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, I need to go back to art school. And I'll see you guys. See you guys in about 5 years.
No, but I'm just going in this moment. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to resolve this whole thing. But yeah,
That's
basically, you know, you just kind of like, you just go with it and don't, you know, I've been lucky enough where I kind of work on a lot of stuff where it's like, you just have to just try and, you know, play with it, have fun with it. There's no right or wrong. It's like, you just kind of take it. Usually there are parameters as far as like where to take it, how far to take it, or where, you know, maybe when things are too far, or things you want to like keep within the rails of as far as direction and get there. But, you know, as far as story moments, I kind of like just like to play, you know, I just kind of like to keep things loose and just move the camera around.
Yeah.
You know, and as you can see, I mean, everything was just super scratchy. I mean, I was just kind of like on the cuff, but you know, I just basically use basic forms, POV shots. I try and figure out like simple camera moves, camera angles, different ways of staging, or simple ways of staging, and you know, use grids. And then I'm just kind of like just plotting and trying to keep this really fast, quick shorthand of like, oh, what's happening? What could happen? Where are we at? You know, whose story are we seeing this from? Kind of thing. So,
fantastic.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
Thanks, Red.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that was incredible. I mean, like, you probably have 1,000 layers on your Photoshop file right now, and so all those options, man. What do you? I want to transition to like how we can, you know, sort of speak to people that are, you know, want to break in, that kind of stuff. Do you like to see that sort of exploration on portfolios, student portfolios, that kind of thing, John? Or what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. Like, I think ideally in a portfolio, you want to showcase ideally overall good design that has like storytelling elements. Storytelling elements means like you have characters that are kind of going within a set, and they're not doing like a neutral pose. They're kind of reacting to something, or they're reacting to the people in the scene. There's a conversation going on, or there's a discovery, a revelation, or there's some trepidation. They're kind of like they're reacting in context to their moment. And basically, ideally, in a story moment, you want to kind of do you want to showcase some contrast. You want to showcase like, okay, something happened here, and then something happened, and then they're trying to resolve it, or they're trying to move from it, and so forth. Actually, if I may, let me see if I can do this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I was going to share screen.
Yep.
Is it this? Oh yeah. So I was going to just showcase this thing. I'm just actually getting this up here, if I may. But I've shared this with other folks, and it's just kind of answers kind of what you had asked, where yeah. So I'll just share this, Bobby. Share screen. So when I see a lot of portfolios, what's great is a lot of them show me like a really beautiful painting, and it's usually a standoff. It's usually like one character standing off against either a creature, a big character, or another person, and they're just kind of standing there, and that's beautiful.
Mhm.
I'm not saying all of them do that, but I know it's like some have like this one, just one story moment, and that's great. But then I ask them, it's like, well, how did we get here? You know, what
Mm.
happened before that and before that, and how did it begin, and then how did it end? So
Wonderful.
I was asking for a timeline, and basically I was asking for progression.
Mm.
So I was thinking like, well, what if you wanted to show this and it show a little bit more? That all happened within like a couple of minutes of this scene. So maybe you can showcase more of your camera work and cinematography and staging by moving the camera behind your characters. So maybe it's behind the
Oh,
dragon looking down,
yeah.
so the hero is more vulnerable.
Yep.
Or maybe you do a reverse angle, so
Ooh.
that way we can still showcase the scale of the dragon and the character kind of in anticipation.
Mhm.
Maybe you show like really nice poetic approaches as far as how can you get a two shot. So you can use reflection and glass and so
Like
forth.
it. Like it.
Uh, Maybe a lot of people what a lot of people don't do is they don't like add some close ups. It'd be nice to think to get an idea of what the person is feeling and acting and reacting to. So maybe interject maybe some close-ups within these wider shots. That way we can kind of really know what the character is feeling and think as and seeing or doing in this moment.
Yep.
Maybe you add interesting compositions and maybe compose your characters within areas that are act as metaphors. In this case, like he's trapped. So maybe you showcase your hero in this case in the between the legs, so that way he's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Maybe you showcase things that are happening, points of action. You know, all this time it's been a standoff, but maybe now this is the time where something's happening, and then maybe you can actually have movement, so that way they go from A to B or to another location altogether.
Yeah. Yep.
And then maybe you build up to the moment of a high action where maybe the hero then has to sling the sword or has to make a decision. In
Mhm.
this case, this guy's going to kill the dragon, and I made it all dramatic. I put like lightning
I love
in the back,
it. Yeah.
and then afterwards the resolution is like now he sits on top of the defeated dragon,
Mhm.
or maybe you can compose this differently. Maybe he's up there, maybe
Whoa.
he's
Cool.
closer, or
Yeah.
maybe he's on top of him, so you don't see the victor's face, but yet you see the dragon below and you see the blood. So
Yeah.
anyway, there's different ways to stage this.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll share is like you can actually go wider. All of this I showed was like within a few minutes of that first slide.
Yeah.
What if you go back and say like you begin on a small village, like in Burke, like from How to Train Your Dragon? Maybe it's a small village. Maybe they're all agrarian. They're farmers. They're sheep, livestock, and so forth. And then all of a sudden, a dragon comes and scoops up one of the cows, and then he starts hurling fire, and so all the huts are on fire. And down below, you see a young man, and he's looking up at his cow being carried away by a dragon. So all of a sudden, we establish like a quick need or a want, and the need is like this one character, this young boy wants to save his cow from the dragon. So right away, we have an introduction of the world,
Mhm.
the universe, and so forth. We have a conflict, a scenario. We have contrast.
Mhm.
We have like drama. We have contrast here. And right away, we have established a want or need, and all of a sudden, the one is he's on the journey. So now he's leaving A to go on his way to go to B. And on the way, there's opportunities to showcase other things like different locations, different contrasts of locations, things he's going to see, scenarios. Now we have unsafe things happening until possibly we get to this moment.
Uh-huh.
So this is just maybe things to consider where you're kind of using progression to showcase a little storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's awesome.
So,
Yeah.
so
John, how's your time looking this afternoon?
good.
Are you good to go till 1, or I was just gonna open it up to Q&A, and if not, we can sort of like end early, or what do you think?
No, whatever you want. I can go longer, or we can stop here. Whatever you want to do, Bobby.
Okay, cool. Let's open it up to Q&A if you don't mind, John. By the way, amazing.
Thanks, thank you.
I'm very, there's like artists like you that when I see their work, I'm just like, ooh, I thought I knew what art was, but I am very humbled right now.
Oh, thanks,
I'm in
buddy.
that moment. I'm just like, oh, okay.
No, thank you. Oh, Bobby, I was gonna say I have to. I just realized let me. There's something in the other room. Let me take care of it. I might be back in 1 minute if that's okay.
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 Yeah.
So I'll stop video and I'll give you about 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no problem. Kang Min Lim, if you are in the building still, you had the first question, so I'm gonna allow you to talk and stuff. I'm gonna try this out. What's up, Kang Min? How's it going? Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, hello,
Hi.
good to meet you.
Hi.
Man.
Oh, thank you so much for. I didn't expect to actually speak to you guys. So.
Oh no, it's okay. I was just trying this like new. Well, it's not a new concept, but I was just like, I'd rather have you ask.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I am very humbled right now. Like I feel like I'm just like, ooh, this is
Yeah, the demo was crazy.
Legit master of this dang thing, and I couldn't. I just like he draws faster than I can think. Like, you know.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I cannot even think that fast.
I can't think that fast, and I don't even think like in my life I've thought that fast before. But like, I don't know. I'm like especially when it comes to like perspective and stuff. I'm like, here's the vanishing point, and it's gonna take me like 3 hours to do like one rough and all that kind of stuff. And he's like busting it out, and I was like, can you? There was like 90 layers of what's up, John? We weren't talking about you.
That's okay. I don't mind if you were.
Okay.
Hello.
Awesome. So, John, this is Kangmin Lim. Kangmin, where are you coming from?
Hi, Kangmin.
Hi. So I'm from South Korea originally, but I'm in the States, and I'm actually working in animation, TV industry as a background designer. I'm like junior artist, so really fresh.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And I have a question about. So I want to do a lot of research and study about interior design and architect of a lot of various cultures and history. And I'm wondering if you have any suggestions of like any books or archive or even website that has a lot of reference images that I can that can be really helpful for my study.
Yeah. There really isn't like one particular book or thing I could suggest. What I do is I usually just go on the internet and I just try and find it. I'll share kind of things that I use on my search. A lot of it, and I'm sure a lot of people have done this before. A lot of it is like kind of like trying to find creative keywords, right? Mm-hmm. So usually, you try to like, go on Google, Yahoo searches, Pinterest is good. A lot of people don't know this, but try and use YouTube. YouTube is a great thing as far as like getting locations. I tell people like, especially like if you're kind of trying to design a place that already exists, say anywhere in the world, type in the city and type in walking tour, and that usually is a really good, because a lot of people it's great, a lot of people like to videotape themselves walking through something. And what's great is, they kind of like, they have the camera here and you get their POV as they're walking through something. And those I find are really good as far as for me trying to get an eye level view of something. I've used it before when I'm trying to do something for Florence or something in Italy, in London. It's really great because you get to see eye level, for if you do like Google Maps and stuff like that, it's usually blurry and it's usually from the car's POV and it's a down shot, which are nice, but I need something like the character's going to see. So I've used a lot of those that are really helpful. What's great is you get to see underneath the awnings, you get to see close up to the storefront and everything. You get the sights and you hear what's going through. That for me has been a good experience. That kind of tells me like, okay, I can't visit that place, but that's the next best thing. I can feel it. So I would say use that. Let's see, what else can you use? If you're looking for like composition stuff, as far as like from other movies, inspiration, I like ShotDeck. ShotDeck.com is good. It's free. You'd have to register, but you just put in your email and a password, and it's directory, just like these other screen grab directories, but it's really good because they have a filtering system that kind of, if you just want to add, like, I'm looking for a 2-shot or a 3-shot, a nut view, a down view. I need something in the day, something in the night, that kind of thing. You can choose the filter or the categorize your search, and it kind of tells you all these movies, and they're all high screen, they're all high res. So I use that a lot. So yeah, they're really, yeah. So Cayman, I wish there was a specific book, but from my experience, I just go online and I just kind of like try and do the best searches I can based on that. But explore YouTube. YouTube is really, walking tours is good. That's a good way to kind of, from my experience, what I've done.
Oh, thank you so much. That was really helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I wish you all the best as you're in the industry.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
What did I tell you? Nicest guy in the industry, John is. Dagmara, are you there? If you wanted.
Hey, Dagmara.
Oh, let me see. I think you have to has to unmute. Dagmara? Ish. Okay, we can move on.
Okay. We'll come back, Dagmara, if you have a question or type in the text. Maybe
Yeah. Please. Yeah. Sasha S. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Sasha.
Hi. It was great. Your demo. It was like really. It was like watching a movie, entirely.
Oh, too kind. Thanks. It was bad. My opinion, it was messy, but thank you.
So I had a question. I quite struggle with giving myself limitations when I think of like a story. So I was wondering how much like limitations or do you get in your own brief? So for example, like when you were talking about the accessories, do they specify that the character will be wearing a hat or, what sort of this thing? So yeah.
Yeah, they may, sometimes you'll be working with the director or the story calls for like their, specific things like they kind of want the character to wear or is having. And you don't necessarily have to stick to it. I mean, I think that's a call for the director to make. You can actually, offer things. Like if you have a better idea than what's given, I'd say definitely pitch that. It's all about what's going to make the story work. What do you think is going to make the story better as far as maybe what they're wearing, how it's designed, and so forth. So, I mean, there are parameters as far as like, oh, the story and this character has this. But I think any opportunity you can to make it better or to offer a different version but still works in what they need, definitely do it, because that's the time to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to, don't shoot yourself down. I would say pitch it and then see how far it goes. And they'll let you know. They'll say like, oh, no, we want to keep to this. Fine. At least you tried. Or they might say like, you know what, we didn't think about that. That's good. Let's explore that. And then maybe as you explore it, then they'll probably have like, I like this, and maybe, bring it down. Or they might even say like, you know what, yeah, take it all the way. So, it all depends.
A follow-up question. How much of the character do you yourself like build? Is it just like a loose personality traits or whatever that they give you, or is it like quite a lot of it they sort of feed you and then you have to just, figure it out on your own?
It all depends. Sometimes if what I like to say, if you have a good director, you get good direction, and then they kind of give you everything they need, and then there's a little bit of there's some room there for you to play with, and that's wonderful. So you're not searching, right? It's like everything is kind of in front of you, and then there's points there where you don't have a lot, so you have to do a lot of the searching, and at times you have to make the choices, or at least kind of think of what their choices are. So again, it depends. It depends from show to show, director to director, and so forth. But be open to everything. I mean, the thing is, when you, in your experience as you enter the industry, you're going to work with different types of people, and some are open, some are not. it doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means like, okay, these are just opportunities for you to figure it out. Part of the job as being a biz dev person is like your problem solving. So, you're kind of like, you have to like, if there's a gut instinct, it's like, what do you think it is? What do you feel could be the best choice? And if you're ever in a situation and they can't make up their mind, I'd say go with what you think is right.
Smart. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
You're welcome, Sasha. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Means a lot.
Next up is Kahenya. Kenya, are you there?
Hi.
Hey,
Can you
how's
hear
it
me?
going?
Hi, Kenya.
Good. Hi, this is Kenya from Kenya, and
Nice to
I had a
meet
few
you.
questions.
Thank you.
Amazing. Can I stay with you if I go to Kenya?
Yes, please. Well, not right now. COVID is kind of taking over, but
Sure.
come. First of all, like, I don't think we can compliment you enough. Watching that, like, I think I speak for everyone when I say, like, that was magic. I mean, Bobby said it all the time, but, like, it was. I mean, that ideation. My question was,
Thank you.
like, I've heard, like, in story rooms when people are, getting their briefs and they're sort of doing sketches on the side. With that speed, like, does that help a lot when you can just go and take that brief and go, okay, in the time that you've talked, here is my first 7 ideas. Does that happen a lot in your position?
It can happen, if there's a juicy story there and you really get excited about and you kind of know it, it can happen. A lot of that's, I'll be honest, it's rare. A lot of times I go in blind. I go in on a launch on Monday and they'll pitch something to me and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I don't know this place, where am I going to start? So, and then a lot of it is just kind of like the first week is just trying to figure out what it is. And then once I'm comfortable, once I kind of have an idea, then I can go back to what I'm familiar with, which is composition. But now I'm composing to what I've seen. Oh, they're composing in this space or this type of area. So once I kind of am familiar with the era, I'm not going blind so much. I'm kind of like, I have an idea now. Then it can be easier. I'm warming up to what it's going to be.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like follow-up question, like that sort of well, it's kind of a tangent, but like, did that speed come with experience? The more you got comfortable with creating fast ideas and getting through those first like stages, did that come over time, or were you always kind of quick at drawing?
It kind of comes over time. When I started in the industry, I started when I was 31, and I started as a storyboard revisionist, and I kind of learned on the job with these great folks at Disney, and I just was looking at how they drew, and everything was very constructive. Everything was based on construction, and it was fast, and it was loose, and there was an energy to it. So they weren't very refined, and I latched onto that, and that's kind of how I kind of approached it. And there's also a little bit of fear involved, like when you got a deadline, you're like, I got to draw fast, but I got to draw fast, but loose and clear. So after a while, you kind of condition yourself to work in that area. But that took kind of like years. That kind of, you don't really do it overnight. Think of it as life drawing. Life drawing, you got 3 hours. First hour sucks because, you come in after a whole week and you're cold. And you're like, oh, you're looking around the shoulders. Anybody see that? That's not going anywhere. The second hour, you're warming up, and you're like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. I like that. You start feeling comfortable. Your hands getting warmer. You're getting more bolder. You're getting more confident. By the third hour, you're in the zone, or at least ideally close to the zone, and you're having fun. You're building more confident. You're not scared to throw marks on the paper, and you're loving it. And then what happens is school stops, or the class stops. And you're like, the brakes go, and that's it. Well, imagine if the class kept on going. You want to keep that fluidity, that looseness. So that's kind of what you want to achieve. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is like, try and achieve that kind of mileage in your drawing every day as much as you can. I know a lot of people have day jobs or other things they have to do. That's fine. I think what you want to try and do is you want to try and make time every day to try and draw because if this is your goal, you have to compete with these people who do this 8 hours a day and plus. So you got to try and find the mileage to condition yourself to do this, that's okay. I mean, once you're in the industry and you get the job, then you're required to do it all day. And over time, naturally, you get warmer, you get faster, you get bolder, you get more confident. Then you rise up to things a little more quickly. So yeah.
Okay, great, fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome, thank you. And so next question we have up on the docket is my girl, Kylie. Can you hear me, Kylie? Are you there? Kylie in the building.
Oh, I didn't know
Hey,
I could
Kylie.
unmute. Hi, nice to meet you. I
Nice
didn't
to meet
expect you
you.
to call, John. Hey, Bobby. So I had a question. I have to read my own question because now I've forgotten it. So I noticed when you were drawing out all of your different spaces, you have a really strong handle on spatial relationships, like making sure that the proportions look correct next to other things, making sure that the space, if it's a big space, it actually feels as big as it should. So just wondering, like, what sort of suggestions or like exercises would you suggest people who struggle with that? Or if you struggled with that, what did you find helped you get better at it?
Now, just so I understand, Kylie, it's like
Yes.
it's like as far as like approaching it, like for character design, or like when I throw the characters into like a set.
Yeah, like when you throw the characters into a set, and even just the set itself, because when you drew that first environment where Goldilocks was looking into the room itself felt like it should be that big, if that makes sense. Like you felt how big the space was and it felt accurate. Then when you threw the character in there, it felt even more accurate. Like, yes, awesome. That still looks good. So I just wondering, how do you handle?
I think what I usually do is, I think because I've done it so much, is like when you start kind of composing or trying to draw a sketch, I always like when I throw the character in, I always try and find markers, scale markers, like things that they're gonna that kind of like help me ground the scale to the thing. What usually happens for a house, the door. So usually when you draw the door, doors are typically have a certain size, and then once you have the door, you can put the door handle, and then the windows and so forth. So that kind of helps kind of lay out right away, because if you don't have the doors there, it's just walls, but you don't know how big the walls are, or you don't have an idea of things are. So doors and windows are always help. Chairs, furniture, usually where the landing, where the seat is, kind of helps determine, like, if this is to their world, or it's made for their world. If you had this, if you had a human chair and all of a sudden you had a Porky Pig in the scene for some reason, then it's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, is Porky Pig going to be sitting in a human chair? Porky Pig has squat legs. A human chair is meant for human legs, so the knee is higher than his leg or taller than his leg. So it's things like that. So is he going to feel out of sort, or is he going to struggle to climb up? If it was Porky Pig's house, all the furniture would have shorter legs and everything would be made for his proportions. So these are things. I guess to answer your question, these are things I consider when I kind of like really quickly laying out like the character into the set. Things like that.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
You too. Thanks.
I just realized that Dagmara came back on.
Oh yeah, Dagmara.
Dagmara, are you there? If you have a question, you can unmute your mic and ask if you are. So I don't want to talk via mic. My English accent is bad. Okay. Let's see. So okay. So this is a big one. Dagmara asks, how do you pitch an idea for a movie with a basic story, but with a unique world?
I'm not sure. I mean, that's a great question, Dagmara. I've never really been in a situation where I had to do that, because that's kind of like a big pitch when you're pitching for a studio. I think the only thing I suggest is, I think what you want to do is, as you're pitching your story, there's different ways people pitch stories. You can pitch it orally, but being an artist, you kind of want to use to your advantage your visuals. So maybe you can do what I was suggesting. You can kind of do like beat boards, as far as like maybe do 10 images of your story to tell people what the story is about, you know. And this is like think of it as like this is an artist book for a movie that has yet to be made. Mm-hmm. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to excite your viewers or whoever you're pitching to as what this world is. I think ideally what you want to do is like the first picture is usually the once upon a time. This is your character. This is their world. You're introducing the universe, their characters, with who they are, what they're doing, and then somewhere either on the second or on the third, you want to introduce the big boom, the big moment. It's when something crazy happens. I call it when shit happens. It could be good shit or bad shit. Good shit means like, who's that person across the room? I need to meet her or him. So it's a love story. So although maybe that the whole want or need is established, that person throughout the whole story wants to meet that person. Maybe they do, and it's a matter of making love last. It could be bad shit where a meteor hits and there's devastation and destruction, and so now it's a survival story. So do they survive? That kind of thing. It could be as stupid and simple as, I'm hungry and I want a cookie. So the I want the cookie is the story. So the whole idea is, well, do I find a cookie? Maybe I don't find a cookie. Maybe I find something else. But all the while, there's things that are preventing me from getting the cookie. Like, oh, I want a cookie, but there's no cookies in the house. Well, there's a store down the street, but it's closing in 5 minutes, and I'm 10 minutes away. I can get in my car and I can drive here, but there's these dragons that are flying and they might take my shit or my car. Anyway, I'm just making that up. I'm putting things in there to make it harder for me to get. And you can take them as far whimsical or as far crazy as you can. It should just somehow make sense the world you've established. In any event, these are kind of like these are the things you kind of want to share in your images. You kind of want to showcase. That's what I mean by storytelling. It's like you're introducing your characters. You're kind of giving them a want or a need or what they have to. There's something there that they're trying to search for, and then you add the progressive complications. Because if it was easy, there wasn't a story. So you want to add challenges. You want to make things a little bit tougher for them, so that way the trip there is more harder, and then the payoff is well worth it.
Right.
So those are things I just share with you, Dagmara. But in any event, consider that.
For sure.
Consider that. Maybe take advantage of your visuals and add your storytelling.
Awesome. Thank you, John, for that. We got 5 minutes. Camilla? Ridley, are you there? You can ask John your question.
Yes, I am. But my question was basically answered. I wanted to know what kind of routine did I have to adapt in my life so I could draw as fast as John draws. So any tips on making a fast drawing routine?
Sure. I would say, okay. To add to what I did before, I think what helps, and again, this is a part of the challenge. A lot of students, to get you ready to get into the studio work or to get you conditioned for that, is working fast. And the difference between you now and you in the studio are deadlines. Deadlines, I hate deadlines, but they're needed. In the end, I appreciate them. Deadlines make you work. They help you commit, and they help you prioritize. And there's a little bit of fear that helps you kind of get your engine going to kind of get going. So I would say add soft deadlines in your schedule to help you get you ready for work. The typical schedule for me in feature animation when I'm doing a set design is usually 2 to 3 weeks. So usually I get launched on Monday, and then I have to show what I have on Friday. And usually what I have is usually a rough. But to get to the rough on Friday, I spend a few days doing research. I do a couple of days doing explorations as far as thumbnails, compositions. I'm getting familiar. And then I present like several roughs. When I say several roughs, maybe 3 to 5 roughs max. You don't want to do like 20 or 40 roughs. No, that's not going to buy you anything. It buys you a lot of wasted time. 3 to 5 is just enough to show variation within those two. And then then on Friday I have my reviews. They tell me what they like, don't like, and then I move forward to what they do like. The next week is usually refining my drawing, adding some tonal values, maybe color, and then I sell it again on a Friday. And then sometimes, depending on the set, it might be another week. So basically, all that I'm sharing all that so that to give you an idea of my schedule, right? So what you want to do is I have little deadlines in between those two. I also have check-ins with my art director. Between Monday and Friday, I usually see my art director 2 or 3 times, just so the art director is in the same page as I am, and I'm sharing my ideas, and I don't go off on tangents. So now for you to mimic all this into what you do now is like start creating little deadlines. Start, whatever you're doing, if you're doing like life drawing, do life drawing, but maybe keep things gestural. Maybe do 1-minute poses, 2-minute poses, and then move on. And then instead of if you're doing if you're going to Starbucks and people are drawing, you move, you make the shot interesting, and you find different angles and locations and compositions and stuff, positions and so forth. If you're giving yourself an assignment, say you want to design a set, fine. First of all, let's establish what the set is. Maybe you can do the exterior of the house. Okay, do an exterior of the house and do that in 2 weeks. First week, figure out what this house is, get your reference, do your thumbnails and so forth. And then by there, your target, your deadline is trying to establish a nice rough. And then after that, because you don't have an art director, you have to make the choices now. And they're like, okay, this is good enough. This is what I want. And then you start refining it. And then after 2 weeks, try and figure out see if you can finish in 2 weeks. And no matter what, in 2 weeks, turn it off, stop, go to the next one. What it is this is conditioning yourself to work in those conditions. You have to step up. You're gaming up to those conditions. You kind of did that at school, but the difference between schoolwork, I can tell a student portfolio from a professional portfolio. Student portfolios have ones. They have, this is a table in this story. This is a chair in this story. This is the exterior of the house in this story. What they don't have is well, this is the chair, but this chair is also in this room that it sits in along with this other furniture. Or they have, this is the exterior, but this is also the interior that kind of sinks in. So basically, a professional portfolio does all that. You're fulfilling the world and all the needs of that world, so you're filling all these sets. So, when I'm working on a movie, I'll probably work on at least maybe 10, 15 locations within that one universe. So that's what a professional portfolio is. There's growth, there's expansion of that idea and those themes and those motifs in that series of work I'm doing. For a student portfolio, they just have one. These are just assignments. You're just trying your hand at one thing. So what you have to do as a student is rise up to get you studio ready for that thing. So I would say this: go back to your student work, and if you have just one thing, expand on what that is. If you just have a table, just expand on that, or just you can start fresh and say okay, I'm gonna do one given story and expand on that. So that's gonna get you ready for stepping up when you do studio work to rise up to what you're expected to do.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Camilla. Wishing you all the best.
So we're 1 o'clock now, and I think that's a great segue. And John, thank you so much for your time. But you touch on it a little bit, but what is your favorite thing to see about student portfolios or portfolios that are trying to break in, for their first gig?
Yeah, I would say this. I would say you want to show some breadth, some range. As far as characters, a lot of people think this is a character design, the neutral pose or the Jesus pose. No, that's part of it. What you want to show is you want to showcase emotion, expression. You want to showcase that these characters are living and breathing and thinking. So maybe a page of expression, the page of poses. Do a lineup, not just the one character. You're expected to do a lineup. So what you want to do is you're expected to create different characters. And within the characters, here's the challenge. You want to make sure they're all unique, but they all fit in the same world. So that's the challenge of being a character designer. You have to think of maybe these features that kind of unify, but at the same time, they each have different things given their personality, physical traits, and so forth. Let's see, as far as sets, yeah, you want to showcase that you can that you can provide different locations within the universe. not just the exterior shot, but you also want to showcase what's the world like, what's the universe, what's the exterior area, what's the bigger world within this world we're going to enter. And then we have the house. We need so inside the house, and then inside the house we should go more specific as far as like little details, like, oh, the character goes inside their room. This is their sanctuary. So now there's closer areas we have to explore. Think of storytelling. What are the needs of the story? What's the DNA? You can tell a lot about the character based on how you're dressing the room. The characters don't have to be in there, but there should be something there to consider. Given all that, and there should be some appeal, some clarity, things that are interesting, a sense of reference that you've done your homework, so things aren't made up. Things are kind of grounded to what they should be. If you're kind of working to a particular geography or particular location, a culture, anything like that. Step back, and what you want to do is, okay, you want to create at least three series of work. Okay, this is a character based today, and this is a mother and her. This is a little girl and her family living in present day San Francisco near Chinatown. Okay, and this is their apartment, and this takes place in that area. Second series, this is a talking dog and a cat, and they're anthropomorphic, and it takes place in turn of the century Paris, and the guy is a crime stopper. He's a detective. He's kind of like Sherlock Holmes, but he's not about solving other mysteries in the animal world. And maybe there's humans walking around. Okay, different scenario. Third scenario, maybe this is a story about Bigfoot. And Bigfoot, and he lives upstairs, but he's a poet, and maybe he's an artist, and he sees the gentrification down below, and then he's curious, so he wants to go down there, and maybe he befriends maybe a young child, and so there's that kind of like the E.T. moment where somebody out of the woods comes in, and there's that thing. So now as a designer, okay, Bigfoot, humans, his world, city world, and so forth. Along with that, along with character designs, along with location designs, story moments, you want to showcase using the camera, cinematography. You can stage things to tell a story. Think of points of view and so forth. I tell people if you don't know how to do it, you'll learn it. If Steven Spielberg told you, I want this by Friday, you'd figure out a way to do it. Why? Because it's Steven freaking Spielberg. So I tell people, don't wait for Steven Spielberg to tell you, just do it now. And that's going to get you ready. So, I threw a lot there, but basically, you want to think of it, you're getting ready for the big leagues. You want to think like big leagues. You want to work like they do in the big leagues. So that means stepping up your game. That just means doing more work of what you've already done. But that's what you signed up to do. But I'm telling you, things don't get easier when you get in; they get harder. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that's what you have to do. So embrace it, enjoy it, step up, welcome it. Enjoy the pain. But it's not painful. You're gonna die. It's like this just means you're thinking. You're thinking and you're problem solving. Welcome to visual development. This is the job. So shut up and do it. Shut up and draw. Just
amazing. Awesome. John, whoa, man, that was a lot of wonderful information. And yeah, did you, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Or
no, go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah. That was amazing. The demo, as well as the mind-blowing demo, as well as all of the amazing insight and advice that you have to give all of us. I learned so much, but thank you for being here. We'll put this up on YouTube eventually, but all this like gold will be shared with the world. But again, on behalf of myself, Rise Up Animation, and all of the attendees, thank you so much for taking the time, and you're so generous. And I will say, everyone getting into the industry, you will meet guys like this that are just kind of like, this is why I'm in this industry, kind, talented, generous, just incredibly courteous with their time. So this is what the animation industry is sort of feel like, guys like John. So I tell you that now, and that's not an exaggeration. But thank you so much, man. I hope
thanks,
you guys
brother.
have a great rest of your weekend. John, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. What a great first demo panel. So, oh man,
Thanks, brother.
like overwhelmed.
No, I just want to. I just want to thank you again for inviting me and for folks here just kind of spending their Saturday with listening to this. And yeah, I mean, I just want to share, because I want you guys to have what I had and what Bobby had. It's like that opportunity to do it. And I mean, there's a lot of people, I mean, all they want to do is they want to get a peek of what's in it. And hopefully, I mean, I just spitball everything kind of what we've gone through. So yeah, so, you know, it's going to be okay. Just go for it. Just do the best you can. Be a sponge, learn as much as you can, make as many mistakes as you can, but they're not really mistakes. Or just, you know, just don't be scared to make mistakes. Just go for it. And yeah, you'll get there. So Bobby, thank you again. This is an awesome, awesome opportunity, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Goodbye, you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. John, I love you. If I can
Thank
hug
you.
I will.
Love you,
Oh,
love you too, brother. Bye, guys.
Hey, bye.
Love to you all.
Love to you all.
Love you. Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.